What if your staff thought you were just another broke black man and said it out loud? This undercover black owner walked into his own diner, and what he heard from two cashiers nearly tore him apart. But how he handled it might just change the way you see leadership, respect, and second chances. Stay until the end, because what happens in the final scene will hit you harder than any plot twist. Marcus Reed used to joke that he could read his restaurant's mood the way a sommelier reads a glass of wine, one whiff, one sip, and everything made sense. But somewhere along the line, the aroma stopped talking to him. So on a bright Wednesday at 12:45 p.m., he parked across the street from Ellie's Grill, tugged a weather-washed Braves cap over his eyes, and studied the green and yellow neon that carried his grandmother's name. The second L flickered like it was winking at him, daring him to come see what he'd been missing. He dressed to disappear, jeans with a frayed knee, a hoodie that had survived 3 moves, and sneakers that had lost their shine the day the Falcons blew that Super Bowl lead. In this getup, he wasn't the owner who signed checks. He was just another hungry Atlantan looking for a plate. Inside, the lunch rush was in full sprint orders barking from the kitchen printer, chairs squeaking, country tunes leaking out of dusty ceiling speakers. The smells were exactly right. Slow-smoked brisket, sweet cornbread, and that pepper-sharp barbecue sauce he'd tweaked for months until it reminded him of Mama Rosa's porch on Sunday afternoons. The vibe, though, was off. Flat. Nobody greeted him. Nobody offered the usual "y'all good?" that used to float through the room like steam. 2 cashiers manned the counter. Trey, skinny with short twists and permanent half-lids, thumb-typed under the register ledge. Next to him, Kayla popped pink gum so hard it sounded like a snare hit. Neither looked up. "Next," Kayla drawled, eyes glued to the screen. Marcus stepped forward. Pulled pork sandwich, baked beans on the side. Tap, tap. "That it?" "Yeah, thanks." He slid a 10 across the metal surface. While he waited, he drifted sideways, pretending to check the pie display. That's when he heard Trey's stage whisper. "You see that dude? Bet he's another walk-in from Peachtree. They tip like never." Kayla snorted without pausing her gum rhythm. Whole place gone downhill since they started hiring from that shelter program. Swear. "Word is the owner's some rich guy." Trey chuckled. "Black dude never shows up. Probably sipping celery juice in Buckhead while we do his work." Marcus's jaw tightened. Not because they'd missed him in disguise, that part was expected, but because the compassion he'd baked into the business model had curdled into contempt. Near the window, a man in a suit frowned at a watery iced tea. A young mom failed to hush her toddler while eyeing the empty space where a server should have been. Mama Rose would have pressed her famous pecan cookie into that kid's hand by now. She would have, "Order 42, someone shouted from the pass-through. Marcus's sandwich. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned back to the counter. "Actually, can you cancel that?" Trey barely glanced up. "Sure?" "Lost my appetite," Marcus said, voice flat. He walked out. Out in the car, he sat with both hands on the steering wheel, feeling the pulse in his fingertips. Anger churned, but underneath it was a colder, ache disappointment deeper than the Chattahoochee and spring flood. Ellie's Grill was supposed to be a second-chance engine. Hire folks who needed a fresh start. Feed customers like they were neighbors. Keep Mama Rose's open-armed spirit alive. Somewhere between expansion plans and supplier meetings, he'd let that spirit slip through the cracks. 10 minutes, 15. He watched customers come and go. A construction foreman dusting concrete off his boots. 2 college girls splitting fries. A courier gulping sweet tea between deliveries. None of them knew the guy brooding behind the windshield wrote their paychecks and their menu. At 1:05, Marcus climbed out, strolled 2 blocks to a gas station coffee counter, and returned with a bitter brew he barely tasted. Instead of the front door, he circled the alley. A rust-stained steel exit sat beneath a half-open kitchen window. Voices drifted out. Trey again, louder now. "I'm telling you, boss man's Casper." If he does walk in, probably wearing cufflinks shaped like truffles. Kayla's laugh. "Mr. Ghost Boss, I like that." A chair creaked. Another voice, deep and steady. Deshaun, the grill master Marcus had hired straight out of a halfway house. Y'all know he started this joint with $200 and a backyard smoker, right? Show some respect. Relax, D, Trey shot back. If he don't care enough to show up, why should we? Deshaun's exhale sounded like a forged bellows. Talk like that, you'll learn why folks don't stick around. Marcus stepped away, shame fighting pride in his chest. Deshaun still believed. Trey and Kayla clearly didn't. And he'd been invisible long enough for cynicism to fill the gaps. That night, in a budget hotel off I-75, he opened a battered notebook and poured 2 pages of bullet points. Culture rot. Customer neglect. Leadership vacuum me. At the bottom he wrote, water the garden. Don't just plant the seeds. Mama Rose. Then he grabbed his phone and typed a message to every employee. Team meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Required. No excuses, no emojis, no context, just the kind of blunt summons that made people check their calendars twice. Sleep hovered, but never landed. His brain reran the afternoon on an endless loop. Kayla's gum pops, Trey's lazy mockery, Deshaun's lone defense. Somewhere around 4 a.m., he whispered to the motel ceiling, I'm fixing this, Grandma. Morning came hazy and fast. By 8:47 a.m., he was back in front of the diner, this time in his usual charcoal blazer, crisp button-down, broken-in boots. No disguise, no hiding. He watched employees trickle in. Kayla, late and scrolling TikTok. Trey, earbuds sucking away awareness. Deshaun, first as always, unlocking the side door with a key Marcus himself had handed him 5 years earlier. At 9:02, Marcus climbed out, closed his car door with deliberate softness, and crossed the lot. Amani, a line cook fresh out of culinary school, spotted him first and straightened like a cadet. Deshaun's nod carried quiet relief. Trey's earbuds dangled useless. Kayla's phone slipped into her back pocket. Inside, staff clustered near the front booths, a loose semicircle of unease. Marcus let the silence stretch, heartbeat audible in the hush. I won't keep you long, he began, voice steady, but I need you to listen. He told them about Mama Rose, how she ladled collards into plastic bowls for neighbors who couldn't pay, how she believed folks aren't broken, just overlooked. He pointed to the exact tile where he'd stood yesterday, anonymous, unheard, unseen. He quoted the words he'd caught, didn't curse, didn't raise his tone, just laid the transcript in the air like evidence. I stopped showing up. That part's my failure, he admitted. But the disrespect I heard? That's on whoever spoke it. No names, but eyes darted toward Trey and Kayla all the same. I built this place scraped knee by scraped knee. I'm back now. Things changed today. The room held its breath. Somewhere near the back, LaToya server, single mom, veteran of 5 breakfast shifts a week, whispered, about time. Marcus nodded. Exactly. About time. He ended with new ground rules. Real monthly check-ins, him in-house twice a week, customer feedback cards at every table, and one last line delivered like a gavel strike. If you can't respect the mission, clock out for good. Nobody moved. Yet. Kayla, Trey, walk with me, he said, pushing through the swinging door toward the pantry. They followed, skins pale, hearts loud. Behind that door, the future of Ellie's grill would either rekindle or snuff out. Marcus took a breath, ready to test the embers. The narrow hallway near the pantry felt colder than the rest of the building, like even the air didn't want to hang around too long. Marcus closed the door gently behind them. No shouting, no theatrics. Just 3 people, a blank wall, and the weight of choices. I'm giving you this moment, he said, voice calm but firm, to speak freely. Tell me what this place means to you, or if it means anything at all. Trey looked away, jaw tight. Kayla folded her arms and leaned against the wall like she had somewhere better to be. The silence stretched. I mean, Trey finally muttered, I just work here. It's not that deep. It's a paycheck. Marcus didn't flinch. Then you've been cashing the wrong kind of check. Because this place was never just about food. Kayla shifted. Okay, but you weren't around though. Like for a long time. It felt like we didn't matter. Fair, Marcus admitted. That's on me. I stepped away when I shouldn't have. He crossed his arms, leaned back against the opposite wall. But how does that justify mocking new hires? Talking down to the same man who signs your checks? You think that builds a team? Kayla's eyes flickered down to her shoes. Her voice dropped. No, it doesn't. Trey stayed silent. I'm not firing you, Marcus said. Not today. Because maybe this place doesn't need fewer people. Maybe it needs better ones. Ones who learn. Ones who grow. He pointed to the kitchen door. You've got one shot to show me you belong here. It starts now. Not with apologies, but with how you treat people. If you can't do that, don't come back. Still no words. So Marcus opened the door and walked out, leaving the silence behind them. Whether they followed would speak louder than anything they could say and hear. Back in the dining area, the energy had shifted. It wasn't warm, not yet, but it had stopped being indifferent. Now it was alert. Like the whole place was listening for its own heartbeat again. Marcus clapped his hands once. We open in 30. Let's find out if Mama Rose is still in this room. People started moving wiping counters, checking napkin dispensers, firing up the flat top. No one said much, but their hands told the story. For the first time in a long time, they looked like they gave a damn. By 12:05, the line had already started to curl near the front door. Regulars blended in with first-timers. Kids bickered over side dishes. A man in overalls ordered 2 sweet teas before his wife even joined the line. Marcus didn't retreat to the back. He stood by the coffee station, notepad in hand, observing everything. Not to micromanage, but to actually see. No disguise. Just presence. Imani worked the grill like she was born with tongs in her hand. Deshaun moved through the kitchen like a conductor in control of his symphony quiet nods. No wasted steps. LaToya checked on each table with care, cracking jokes that landed with genuine smiles. But the register, that's where the tension still lived. Kayla was trying. You could tell. She stood straighter, made eye contact, smiled like she meant it. But it felt stiff, like she was learning a new language, one word at a time. Meanwhile, Trey moved fast and kept quiet. No eye contact, no commentary. He rang orders, then vanished to the back whenever he could. Then, at 12:46, exactly 24 hours since Marcus had stood in this same spot, a young man stepped through the front door. Hoodie zipped up tight, nervous eyes scanning the room like he needed a backup plan. Couldn't be older than 19. One hand gripped the strap of a backpack slung over his shoulder. The other stayed buried deep in his pocket. Kayla noticed him first and looked away. Trey backed off from the counter, like he didn't want to deal with whatever came next. That's when Deshaun emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel, and nodded toward the boy. You got this, he said gently. The kid hesitated, then shuffled forward. Can I get the catfish combo? But, like, with greens instead of fries? His voice was soft, unsteady. Kayla tapped the screen. That it? He nodded. As she rang it up, Marcus noticed her glance sideways at Trey, but he didn't look back, just turned away, arms folded, eyes on the floor. Order up in 10, Kayla mumbled. Thanks, the kid said. He stepped aside, clutching his receipt like it might blow away. Marcus waited until the line thinned, then walked slowly to the counter. Kayla looked up tense, uncertain. You know who that was? He asked. She blinked. No. Should I? Name's Devin Carter. Just started with the shelter program last week. He's here on recommendation. Kayla's mouth opened slightly. Oh. He's not dangerous. He's not broken. He's trying. Just like a lot of people who've worked here. Her face changed. Not dramatically, but enough. A flicker of guilt, maybe understanding. He looked like he wanted to disappear, she said softly. Marcus nodded. That's how most people feel when the world makes them feel small. She looked down. I'm sorry, I mean it. I know, he said, but don't say it to me. Say it through how you treat the next 10 people. A few minutes later, Devin got his food. Deshaun handed it to him personally, smile on his face, and a casual fist bump to seal the moment. That was the spark. The rest of the shift flowed smoother than it had in weeks, like the engine had finally found its oil. Orders came in and out on time. Jokes floated between the booths. The tip jar filled faster than usual. And when people left, they lingered just a little longer. By late afternoon, Marcus sat in his usual booth near the window as the staff started cleaning up. That's when Trey approached, slower than usual, wiping his hands on a dish towel. He looked unsure of himself, unarmed in a way he hadn't been before. "I talk too much," he muttered. "Didn't realize how loud I was." Marcus didn't smile, but his voice was steady. "You weren't just loud, you were wrong." Trey nodded. "Yeah." Silence. "I don't want to lose this job," he added. "I'll do better." Marcus gave him a short nod. "I believe in second chances, but only when the first one gets acknowledged." Trey straightened a little. "Got it." He turned and walked back toward the kitchen, not slouched, not cocky. Just thinking. The culture wasn't fixed, but it was cracked open. And for the first time in a long while, light was coming through. The next morning, Marcus arrived before sunrise. The street was quiet, still cloaked in that soft blue hush just before Atlanta fully woke up. He unlocked the back door, walked into the kitchen, and flipped on the lights. The hum of the freezer kicked in. The coffee machine clicked as it heated, and for a long moment he stood there in silence, coffee in hand, staring at a photo tacked to the corkboard above the prep table. It was old, creased at the edges and slightly faded, but the smile on Mama Rose's face hadn't dulled a bit. She wore her favorite Sunday church hat, arms crossed with that look. Tough love, no excuses, but all heart. Marcus whispered, just loud enough for the room to hear. "Almost lost this place, Grandma." Then he took a sip, rolled his shoulders back, and got to work. By 8 a.m., the kitchen smelled like butter and bacon. The biscuit dough had risen just right, the grill was sizzling, and the staff began to trickle in one by one. There was no surprise meeting this time, just a quiet check-in before the breakfast crowd. They gathered in the front, some leaning on counters, others perched on booths. The air was different than the morning before, still cautious, but lighter, less guarded. Marcus stood in front of them and spoke from the same place he always had, heart first. "I want to thank you all for yesterday," he said. "That was the first time in a long while this place felt like it used to." A few heads nodded. Deshawn offered a silent, approving smile from the back. LaToya folded her arms, chin slightly lifted like she agreed, but wasn't ready to relax just yet. "But one day doesn't fix everything," Marcus continued. "It just shows who's willing to try." He paused, then held up 2 folders, one blue, one black. "This one," he raised the blue one, "is for those who want to stay. Who believe in what this place stands for and are ready to show up, not just clock in, with heart, with care." Then he raised the black one. "This one is for those who feel like it's time to move on. No judgment, no shame. If this ain't the place for you, I get it. Sign this, finish your shift today, and I'll make sure you get 2 weeks' pay and a letter of recommendation." A ripple moved through the group. Whispers passed between booths. Imani looked over at LaToya, eyebrows raised. Trey looked down at his shoes. Kayla rubbed her hands against the sides of her jeans. Marcus set both folders down on the counter. "No one has to decide right now," he said. "But by tonight, I'll need your answer. Don't stay just for the paycheck. That's not fair to you or to the people we serve." Then he stepped aside and let them work. He didn't hover, didn't watch from a distance with arms crossed. He trusted the choices they'd make would speak louder than any performance. By mid-morning, the blue folder started filling. Deshawn was the first. He slid his form across the counter like it was never a question. "I'm staying," he said with a nod. "This place saved me. Time to return the favor." Imani followed not long after. Then LaToya, her name signed in big, clean letters, like she'd made peace with whatever doubts she'd carried in. The forms kept coming, quietly, deliberately. Not everyone filled one out, though. Around 4:15 p.m., Kayla sat across from Marcus in a booth by the window. She hadn't touched the sandwich on her plate. Her eyes looked heavier than they had the day before. "I think I need to go," she said quietly. Marcus looked at her, waited a beat. "You sure?" She nodded. I don't think I was ever really built for a place like this. I was chasing a paycheck. You need people who chase purpose. He didn't try to talk her out of it. Thank you for being honest. You handled today with more grace than I expected. That matters. Kayla gave a faint smile. I'm sorry for what I said yesterday. I believe you, he replied. Now go be better. Somewhere that fits you. She nodded, stood, and folded her uniform top neatly on the seat before walking out. It wasn't bitter. It was just quiet. The kind of quiet that follows the truth. The day wound down. Dishes clattered in the sink. Chairs scraped across the floor. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner and the last few burger patties on the grill. Then, just before closing, Trey appeared. He walked in slowly, looking less like a kid trying to be slick and more like someone trying to figure out who he actually was. He placed his signed form on the table. I'm staying, he said, and I'll earn it this time. Marcus studied his face. Then don't make me regret it. Trey offered the tiniest grin. You won't. That was it. No dramatic music, no applause, just a choice, quietly made. The culture wasn't healed, but it had been reset. 1 week later, Ellie's grill wasn't louder or flashier, but it was better. The front door's bell had its familiar chime again. The register clicked in rhythm. The kitchen moved like a dance. But the real difference, the people. They greeted customers with real smiles. They joked without sarcasm. They cleaned like it meant something. Because now, it did. On Thursday afternoon, a man in a charcoal suit wandered in and sat awkwardly near the front. Clearly an out-of-towner, probably a business traveler who'd meant to pick a chain spot but ended up here by accident. Before he could flag someone down, LaToya was at his table with water and a grin. Catfish is fire today, she said. Just saying. He blinked, then smiled. By the time he left, he had to-go containers for his hotel fridge and a new favorite spot saved on his phone. Behind the counter, Marcus watched the whole thing unfold, not from the shadows, not in disguise, just present, just there. Amani slid him a plate of peach cobbler as he leaned against the service counter. Fixed it just like Mama Rose's recipe, she said with pride. Cinnamon dusted on top. Marcus took one bite, closed his eyes, nodded slowly. That's the one, he said. She'd be proud of you. Later that day, the door creaked open again, and in stepped Devin Carter. No hoodie this time, just a clean shirt, tucked in, with a quiet confidence in how he carried himself. He glanced around like he belonged here now, not like he was hoping nobody noticed him. He walked up to the counter, and before he could even say a word, Deshaun leaned out from the kitchen, grinning wide. Look at you, he said. Got that job, huh? Devin smiled, nodding. Yeah. Bus depot on Glenwood. Cleaning shifts for now, but they said if I keep showing up, there's room to grow. Room to grow, Deshaun repeated, like he was rolling the phrase around his tongue. That's what this place is about. Devin looked over at Marcus, who gave him a subtle nod from across the room. Just wanted to say thanks, Devin said. I'm good now, really. First time I've said that in a while. Deshaun reached over the counter, gave him a solid fist bump. Don't stop showing up, all right? I won't. The door jingled behind him as he left. And just like that, word started to spread. Not through Yelp reviews, not through Instagram reels, just the old-fashioned way. People telling people. A mom told her sister. A retired vet told his mailman. One of the janitors at the courthouse brought 3 co-workers during their lunch break. And quietly, steadily, Ellie's grill began to feel like what it was always meant to be. Not trendy, not flashy, just true. At closing time that night, Marcus walked out to the parking lot alone. He leaned against the brick wall just beneath the glowing sign, green and yellow neon humming faintly in the warm evening air. One of the tubes in the top corner flickered every so often, just a soft pulse, a little imperfection. He didn't plan to fix it. He liked it like that, like the place itself was still growing, still imperfect, still alive. A moment later, Amani stepped outside, untying her apron and tossing it over her shoulder. You heading out? She asked. In a few, Marcus said. Just giving myself a minute. She paused. eyes narrowing slightly. "You good?" He nodded, slow and thoughtful. "I think I am." She smiled, started to turn, then stopped and reached into her back pocket. "Customer left this on the table earlier, said it was for the owner." She handed him a folded sheet of paper-cheap receipt paper, handwritten in messy cursive. He unfolded it. The note read, "Been coming here since y'all opened. Thought I lost the feeling when it changed. But today felt like Ellie again. Whoever she was, I can tell she's still here. Thank you." Marcus read it twice, then a third time. He folded it up carefully, slid it into his back pocket like it was something too important to leave behind. Imani didn't say anything more, just gave him one last nod and slipped back inside. He stayed a few more minutes, eyes lifted toward the flickering light. Then he whispered like he was talking to someone just out of view, "We're still watering, Grandma," and walked back in. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you build in this world, no matter how big or small, it's not the walls or the name that give it worth. It's the people who protect the spirit behind it. Don't mistake a strong foundation for a finished job. Culture needs maintenance, respect needs reminders, and second chances. They need space to grow. Show up for your people. Show up for your purpose. And most of all, show up for yourself. If this story hit you somewhere real, share it. Not for clicks, not for numbers, but because someone out there stopped showing up. Someone forgot what they built. Remind them. It's not too late to walk back in and fix it. The next morning, the sun was barely peeking over the skyline when Marcus pulled into the lot. He stepped out holding a large tray of biscuits wrapped in foil, warm and buttery, just the way Mama Rose used to make them on Saturdays. Inside, the kitchen lights were already on. The low hum of prep work had begun. Vegetables being chopped, pans heating up, someone humming softly to themselves. Marcus set the tray down on the counter near the register and called out, "Breakfast is on me today." A few heads popped out from the back, curious. LaToya came forward first, eyebrows raised. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion," Marcus said. "Just figured y'all deserved a morning that starts right." That earned a couple of smiles and soft chuckles. Imani grabbed a plate and helped herself to one biscuit, then another. "You added a little honey butter to these?" she asked with mock suspicion. Marcus smirked. "You know I did." By 7:15 a.m., most of the crew was in, sharing biscuits, sipping coffee, chatting not with the cautious energy of people who didn't trust each other, but with the relaxed familiarity of folks finding common ground again. As the clock ticked closer to opening, Marcus gathered them briefly one more time. "I want to make something clear," he began. "This week wasn't about testing you. It was about listening, watching, figuring out what this place needs and what it doesn't." He glanced around. No one looked away. "I'm not expecting perfection. I'm not expecting every shift to feel like a movie ending. But I am expecting this, what we have now, to be the baseline." He pointed toward the kitchen, the booths, the counter. "Respect, effort, purpose. We hold each other to that. We lift each other toward that." Then he paused. "I've made mistakes. I stopped showing up. I started managing from a distance instead of leading from within. I'm changing that now. You'll see me more often, not because I don't trust you, but because I do." Trey, who had been quietly leaning on a mop handle, looked up. There was something different in his posture, less defensive, more open. Marcus nodded toward him. "And don't think I've forgotten who's still learning. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. We stumble. We get up." Then he turned to the register. "And I want everyone to start practicing one small thing this week. Know one regular customer's name. Ask it, remember it, use it." There was a collective murmur of acknowledgement. LaToya smirked. "You gonna quiz us?" "If I have to," Marcus grinned. "And just so you know, sweet tea guy and catfish lady don't count." Laughter finally broke the tension completely. Even Trey cracked a smile. They opened at 8 o'clock sharp, and right away the lines started forming. This time, Marcus didn't hover by the register or lurk by the coffee station. He bussed tables. He wiped down counters. He rolled silverware. He checked in with customers without interrupting their meals. He was there. That was the difference. Around 10:30, a familiar face walked through the door, an older woman named Miss Ruth, who'd been coming since year one. She always ordered the same thing: turkey sandwich, no mayo, extra pickles, half sweet tea, half lemonade. "Morning, Miss Ruth," Trey said at the counter before she could even speak. "Turkey, no mayo, extra pickles. Arnold Palmer to drink?" She blinked, then broke into a wide smile. "Well now, somebody's been paying attention." Trey gave a half shrug. "Trying to earn my keep." "You're off to a good start." From the booth by the window, Marcus watched it all. Silent, steady, proud. He didn't need to say anything. Because the culture he had dreamed of, the one Mama Rose believed in, was starting to grow roots again. It was in the way Imani helped a new dishwasher figure out how to stack trays. In how LaToya refilled water glasses before being asked. In how Deshawn took a quiet moment in the back with Devin, showing him how to season greens without drowning the flavor. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, it was consistent, it was real, and it had been earned. By Friday afternoon, the rhythm inside Ellie's grill felt less like recovery and more like harmony. It wasn't perfect and orders still got mixed up now and then, and the fryer acted up once before lunch, but no one panicked. No one passed blame. They just handled it. That afternoon, as the last lunch crowd filtered out and the booths began to clear, Marcus stood behind the counter, towel over his shoulder, watching his team clean down the kitchen like pros. They didn't rush, they didn't argue, they just moved in sync. And then something surprising happened. Devin Carter came back. Again. This time, not for food. He walked in holding a grocery bag in one hand and a folded piece of paper in the other. Deshawn spotted him first. "Back already?" Devin smiled, nervous but excited. I brought something." He walked up to the counter and handed Marcus the bag. Inside, 3 cans of sweet corn, a jar of pickled okra, and a pack of cornbread mix. "It's not much," Devin said, rubbing the back of his neck. "But my mom used to say, if a place feeds you, you give back when you can, so here." Marcus didn't say anything right away. He just looked at this bag, then at Devin, then at the folded paper in the kid's other hand. "And this?" he asked gently. Devin held it out. "It's something I wrote last night. For the board." The board he meant was the small cork panel on the far wall of the restaurant, the one where Marcus had started pinning up handwritten notes, drawings from kids, old reviews, photos of Mama Rose. It had started as something quiet. Now it was becoming the soul of the place. Marcus took the note, unfolded it. It was a little messy, but carefully written. "This place made me feel human again. I didn't think people like me belonged in spots like this. Now I know better. I'll pay it forward. I promise." Marcus read it twice, then pinned it up next to Miss Ruth's thank you card. "Thank you, Devin," he said. Devin nodded once. "I'm gonna head out. Just wanted to drop that off." "Wait," Marcus said, stepping around the counter. "You still looking for weekend shifts?" Devin's eyebrows rose. Yeah?" "Good," Marcus replied. "We could use someone like you on Saturdays. You in?" That same unsure but hopeful grin spread across Devin's face. "I'm in." As the door closed behind him, LaToya said from the drink station, "You know you're about to turn that kid into a legend, right?" "I hope so," Marcus replied. "But I'm just giving him what somebody once gave me. A shot." The rest of the day passed in small, meaningful moments. Trey offered to close up without being asked. Imani stayed late to help a new line cook practice a sauce. Deshawn started humming an old gospel tune in the back, and for once, nobody asked him to turn it down. By closing, the restaurant was spotless, calm, settled. Marcus locked the front door, flipped the sign to closed, and stood in the center of the room. The green and yellow glow from the window sign painted soft shadows across the floor. He walked over to the booth by the window, his booth, and slid into the seat. His eyes drifted across the dining room, the worn floorboards, the framed photo of Mama Rose, the new note on the corkboard, still slightly curled at the edges. Imani came out from the back, purse slung over her shoulder. "You staying a while?" Yeah, he said softly. Just a few minutes. She nodded. Night, boss. Night, Amani. After she left, Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out that old receipt paper, note, the one the customer left a few days ago. But today felt like Ellie again. Whoever she was, I can tell she's still here. He ran his thumb along the fold, set it gently on the table, and stared at it for a long while. Then he whispered, not to the note, but to the air above it, "We're still watering, Grandma, every damn day." And with that, he sat in silence, soaking in the quiet of something rare and real, a second chance, fully earned, fully lived, fully awake. This story hits deeper than just workplace drama. It's about presence, purpose, and what happens when a leader forgets to show up. What stood out to me wasn't just the disrespect those cashiers showed. It was the quiet rot that grows when no one's watching. The moment Marcus walked in undercover and wasn't recognized, not by face, not by spirit, that's when I realized this story isn't just about business. It's about identity, about how quickly a place can lose its soul when the people inside stop believing in what it stands for. The biggest lesson? Leadership isn't a title, it's proximity. Culture isn't built by slogans. It's built by the small choices people make when they think no one's listening. And second chances? They don't start with forgiveness. They start with accountability. This story reminded me that even the most broken place can heal if someone's brave enough to walk back in and do the work.